Hey Sainers, welcome to Saints TV. I'm doing it a bit early this week, Wednesday. Usually I do it on a Thursday night when the teams come out, but I'm a bit busy tomorrow night, so I thought I'd do something tonight. And obviously the teams aren't out until tomorrow, so we can't talk about lineups tonight, but I think it's still, there's still enough to talk about for Friday night's game. It's round 18, it's Maddie's match. This is our second Friday night in a row. And we've got another one, I think, towards the end of the season against the Bombers. So it's always good to get to Etihad and enjoy the crowd. And particularly after last week's effort against Carlton, we were quite positive, kicked a big score, 34,000 turned up. So there's going to be well over 40 tomorrow on Friday. So I'm going to have to get there pretty early to find a nice general admission spot. We're playing first, so we're going from playing the worst team in the comp by a country mile to one of the better teams, if not the best team in the comp, who are coming off a loss. So they played GWS last week. They lost by 2 points. They weren't at their best, to be said. I was watching the game, and I think GWS generally had the better play, and they probably deserved to win by more. It was Richmond's late fight back towards the end of the game. They kind of brought them back and got them within striking distance of actually winning out of nowhere. So, hey Susan, how's it going? So it's going to be an interesting one because it's Richmond haven't won a game away from the MCG bar one win, and that was against North Melbourne by 10 points, and that was at Etihad. So they haven't been travelling well. I mean, Etihad's just around the corner, but it's also like, a couple of years ago, Melbourne couldn't win a game at Etihad. They went like 12 games without winning, and it was just basically MCG that they could win. Richmond, they're pretty comfortable at the MCG, so I think even just the fact that this is at Etihad, it's our home game, we're coming off a win, they're travelling and they lost. It could be the ingredients of some sort of exciting game. We're $6.50 to win, apparently thanks to CrownBet, which isn't sponsoring this video in any way. I'm just reading it on the AFL website, so they're good odds. I think they're good odds. We are better than $6.50 chance. Hey Tim, how's it going, mate? So if I was a betting person, $6.50 for the Saints on Friday night at Etihad could be an interesting game. It could be an interesting game. I think we're going to see three big ends. We're going to see Blake Acres. He's going to come in. We're going to see Josh Battle come in. And then obviously Seb Ross, who was a late withdrawal last week with sickness or with illness. Those are three big ends. So the question I have is who comes out? I think Jack Loney probably comes out. I think Mav Weller probably comes out. And one of Hunter Clark or Ed Phillips will come out. If there's more room for that, I'm not sure. Jimmy Webster, I haven't heard too much about. I know he was a bit sore and didn't finish the game last week, but I'm tipping that he'll make the cut, along with Jake Carlisle, who returned and had a bit of a kind of a rib issue towards the end of the game last week, but he played it out anyway. So I think we'll be pretty close to full strength, bar the usual injuries of Paddy McCartan and Josh Bruce. But I think Rowan Marshall obviously will keep his spot after last week. He was very impressive against a pretty young and inexperienced team, but he did what he needed to do. He had like 2 goals, nearly 10 marks, over 100 fantasy points. All he needed to do, he did. So he keeps his spot. And with Josh Battle, obviously Tim Membry playing really well. I think he's kicked 17 goals, 3 since that Fremantle game where he couldn't kick for shit. So he's turned the corner. The team seems to have turned the corner a little bit, where we've won 3 out of our last 4. I mean, we did beat Gold Coast. Melbourne was the exception, and then obviously Carlton in that. And we were okay against Port Adelaide away. So, I mean, we're in decent nick. We're in as good a nick as we would want to kind of be going into a game against Richmond. If we're going in 4 weeks ago, having only won 1 of the last 12, yeah, you'd be nervous. But at Etihad Friday night, something always happens. I don't think it'll be as comfortable as what a lot of Richmond supporters probably think it will be. I don't know how confident they are. I don't know if any of you are Richmond supporters watching, but they've won 3 of their last 5. We've won 3 of our last 5, judging by these stats. So it could be interesting. Last time we met, we lost by 28 points, and that was in round 10, and that was probably one of our better performances to date at that point in the season, where it was round 10. I think we'd won 1.5 games at that point. And that was the first sign that we were getting better. And I think then after that, we might have played GWS. So that might have been after the GWS draw. So there was something there. Before that, they beat us in Nick Riewoldt farewell game at the G. And before that, we all know we beat them by, 50, 67 points or something like that when we were 80 odd points up at halftime, and it was ridiculous, and that was as good as we've ever played in the last 6 years. So, and that was at Etihad. So they've played us at the G twice since then. Last game was the Etihad game, round 16 last season, so around this time last season, and we absolutely thumped them. So I'm excited for this. I'm really excited. It's going to be interesting. Richmond are a very good team. They're a pressure team. So I think if we can match them in that pressure stakes and we can tackle the hell out of them, they may not like that. They're used to being the instigators. They're used to being the team in the other team's face, causing problems and having it their own way. So I think if we can come out and put them off balance a little bit, either with matchups or just the way we're playing, I think it'll make for a really good game. And you want to play against the best. You want to play the top teams any time of the season, no matter if you're playing well, you're playing poorly, you're doing okay. You just want to play the best teams at the best times. And this is the top of the ladder Tigers at Friday night at our home ground, Maddie's match to raise funds for a great cause, for Maddie's vision. So there's no reason not to get there, guys. So I'm super excited, and you might hear some chants. I mean, I've been posting a couple of videos this week of a particular group of the Saints sort of army, not quite cheer squad, but around that R29 level 1 row, those areas. If you're ever around there, go and check them out. Their songs are just so funny, and for some reason they've absolutely taken off. I posted the Membry one on Sunday. It's got nearly 170,000 views, over nearly 4,000 comments, over 1,000 likes. It just went berserk. And then yesterday night around this time I posted a Jack Nunes one. And that's around 60,000 views already and over 1,000 comments. So it's gone absolutely bonkers. I'm not sure why. My page has grown by nearly 300 or 400 this week, which is the most it's ever grown. So it's good to see that you guys are enjoying what I'm posting, and the more feedback I get, the more I can tweak the channel, improve it, make it better. And if you record anything interesting at the game, whether it's a chant or, a cool thing that a supporter's done, or just footage of the game or the crowd, send it in and I'll post it. I'll happily credit you. So the more content we can get from, the fans, the better. I don't want it to be just about my face. But anyway, we'll get back to the game. I'm on the AFL website and they've got their 6 points that they talk about. So the key 6 points. I feel like we can go through it and see what they say. So the first one is... the Saints led by 12 points midway through the third term early this season before Richmond kicked 9 of the last 13 goals. Josh Caddy booted 6. So Josh Caddy is a player that we need to watch. It's not just Jack Reel, it's also Josh Caddy. He's a big unit. Richmond have turned him into sort of like a power forward. At Geelong, he was kind of a decent midfielder, but he didn't have a lot of size. Now you see him standing next to Richo in interviews, and he's as big as Richo. He's a good player. He can take a mark, and he's a good kick. So he's one to watch. It'd be interesting to see if we put, Jake Carlisle on him or someone else, or Jack Rewald. So we'll see how we go. Number 2 is St Kilda is ranked 3rd for disposals per game with 389.4. In contrast, Richmond are 14th. So we have a lot more of the ball. That doesn't surprise me. We do like to be a bit handball happy at times. And Richmond are just kind of a very basic bomb it to a pack and win at the numbers at ground level, because they're one of the smaller teams in the AFL, with Jack Reo being the only real tall and Nan Curvis. So we'll see how we go. Cheers for that, Adam. Always good to get your support, mate. Top comment. Number 3 is the Tigers have dominated St Kilda recently, winning 8 of the past 10. That came after the Saints had won 10 from 11 from the 2005 to 2011 period. So that's kind of where we started to decline. Richmond started to get a bit better, so that's no surprise. Number 4 is Richmond is one of the best defensive teams this season, only conceding 71 points per match on average and having given up 100 in a game only once. St Kilda's given up 94 points, so they're 4 goals off better than us in general. Number 5, Richmond hasn't lost consecutive games since round 8 and 9 of last season, while St Kilda will be looking for successive wins for just the second time this year. And number 6, Shane Edwards has been a big riser for the Tigers in the Schick AFL player ratings, going up to from number 57 at the start of the season to number 27 ahead of the Saints clash. And they've got this thing where they talk about it's a big week 4. So they've said it's a big week 4. Jack Steele, who was probably close to best on ground last week, he tagged Cripps. Cripps had 35, but Steele had 33, laid 10 tackles, kicked a goal. had like 14 score involvements, basically best on ground alongside Jack Stephen. It'll be interesting to see if he tags Dusty Martin, does he go to Trent Cotchin, or do we just go head to head? I think last season we tagged Dusty and it worked, and I think it was Seb Ross that did it last season, so it'll be interesting. I think it'll be Steele versus Martin, Seb Ross versus Cotchin, or vice versa. It'll be the other way around. So I think those two players will do some tagging jobs, but will obviously want to acquire the ball and use it the other way as well, and not be too focused on their Richmond counterpart. As I said, I think I'd be very confident, to tip a win. That'd be a very confident me doing that. I'm not against that. I think we can be good. I think we can be very good, and we might surprise. I don't know if we can win, but Richmond are there to be got at, and I think the fact that they don't have a major tall forward line helps. I think we always get, when we play the Kennedys, the Hogans, we play those tall forward lines that cause us problems. I think if we can keep Jack Rewalt relatively quiet, then we'll be okay, because we have a lot of those medium-sized defenders that can do a job. Geary, Rice, Webster. There's a bunch of them that can do a job. Savage, Sam Gilbert, if he plays, he's another one that could be out, but he did play well on Curnow, so I'm not sure if he stays in. It'd be interesting to see what they say. Enough talking from me. I think I'm going to go through some of your comments, because there's been a few. Stuart says, we got this on Friday night. Close game, but I think a win is possible. I do too. Worth 100. Jim reckons worth 100 on the $6.50 odds. Not bad a shout. Tim reckons, I think if we apply our pressure like we have in the past, we're a big chance. I agree too. Ben, closer game than last time they both played at Etihad. Saints by 15 points with a late snap goal from Jade Gresham. Gresham was quiet last week, but he loves to play. He takes the big moments in the big games, like he did against Melbourne, like he did against Tigers last season. He's a big game sort of player, so I'd be keen to see him play. Neil says, a wise man once said to me, the betting odds tell you the opinions of the rich and the stupid. Having said that, at $6.50, I'd put a sneaky 10 on us if that was money I had. Taylor says, it's important that we finish the year strong. It may be pivotal when it comes to potentially luring free agents. 100%. I think, like I said a couple of weeks ago, let's ignore the first start of the season, the first section of the season, the first 12 games, first 11 games. We have the bye. We've come back and won 2 of the last 3 of the last 4, including the win before the bye. If we can win, clearly win more games than we lose in the second half of the season, that sets us up for a good off-season in luring a player, and obviously momentum going into playing in 2019. Neil says, I feel like GW has put them off balance early, winning the ball through the middle and not allowing Richmond's pressure game to choke them early. Even when Richmond got back into the game, they didn't click into gear. Getting in front early will change the way the game's played, 100%. If you let Richmond dictate the game and do what they want, they're going to take hold, they're going to be confident, they're going to go for the throat early and kick away. If we can stick with them for a couple of quarters, they might get a bit worried. Our pressure game might get even more intense the more we think we can win it. The crowd gets involved, and momentum's a crazy thing in football. You never know what's going to happen. Gary says, I can't see too many changes as Sandy played Sunday, so only a 5-day break. That's why Blake Acres didn't play in Sandy. That's something I heard. He didn't play for Sandy, or he didn't play for Sandy last weekend because he was rested up to play Friday night. Joe says, no good giving Richmond a start, then it's all over, 100%. And Gary lastly says, Martin is the guy who kills us most games. And he's the guy that we need to tag and watch. But the thing with Richmond is, you tag Dusty and other players bob up. So we need to just be competitive individually and collectively for the entire 120 minutes. And then that will go an absolute long way for us being competitive in this game and maybe getting a win. But I'll leave it there, guys. Obviously, I'll post the teams tomorrow night when they come out. There won't be a live preview talking about the teams because I'm doing it tonight because I have plans, unfortunately. But I will be at the game Friday, so if you see me, say hi. Obviously, donate to Maddie's Vision. Any dollar counts for them. It's a fantastic cause. It's Nick Rewalt's family, so what better family to support than the great man's family? And we'll see how we go Friday night, and I'll see you after the game, hopefully talking about a decent win. Actually, before I go, I don't want to let Christopher hang. I'll go through your comment first. Do we go with Battle back in the side for Loney and have that 3? Yes, 100% we do. And lastly, Grant, Akers didn't play Sunday. I thought he got 25. No, that was the weekend before, and then he didn't play. So he he didn't play last weekend. It was the weekend before that he had 25. Anyway, guys, go Saints, and I'll see you Friday night after the game.